and walk you guys through what night 1, night 2, the first like week was like with sleep training. Also, his naps have become like 2 hours. I was terrified I was gonna get mastitis. Hi guys, my name is Lindsay and I make videos all about motherhood and lifestyle, and I like to share helpful tips here on YouTube. I am a mom to 2 boys, one named Ashton who is 7 months old, and in this video I am sharing how we went from waking every 20 minutes and pulling him into our bed to sleeping through the night. And I also have a 3-year-old named Hayden who we also sleep trained around the same age, and he is a wonderful sleeper now. I believe that my children are happy, thriving, and enjoy sleep because of sleep training. I understand that sleep training is not for everybody, and if it's not for you, you do not have to watch this video. I just want to share our experience and some helpful tips so that it might help others along the way. So we decided to sleep train at 5.5 months, and we did the same thing with our first son, Hayden. And there's no doubt about it that those first 6 months of a newborn baby are hard. That baby needs you. There are people that sleep train around 3 to 4 months, and if you can transition all the feeds to during the day and just sleep train earlier, then that's for you. For me, I think that between 5 and 6 months is the best time because they've gained a significant amount of weight by then, and I just feel more at ease that I know that it's not like a hunger thing at night. Also, at around 5 to 6 months, babies really start to like hold on to certain habits and learn behaviors and stuff like that. So I'll give you a little background about Ashton's sleep. He was never really a good sleeper. Like, our first son was doing 6-hour stretches by 6 weeks old. Ashton never really got there. He was doing like long stretches at the beginning of the night, but he would always wake like every 2 hours. And then the 4-month sleep regression hit and he would wake even more. Closer to like 5 months, he was waking every 20 minutes or maybe an hour. Like, I'd put him down in his crib and he would be up like 20 minutes or an hour later. And I would often bring him into bed with us and lay him beside me so that, you know, I could get some sleep, so that he could get a little bit more sleep. But even beside me, I mean, they still wake often. Even that longer stretch at the beginning of the night was starting to get shorter, and I just knew it was time to sleep train. It was affecting me during the day. It was affecting my patience with the boys, and I just knew it was time to sleep train. Because I was bringing him into bed with me often, it's like that was becoming a learned behavior. So like, I would put him down and he would wake 20 minutes later and be like, hey, I'm still not in bed with mom. I gotta cry again. So it was becoming like a learned behavior. Like, he wanted to come into bed. I truly believe that that's what was happening. So that's why we decided to sleep train when we did. I didn't even want to entertain the idea of co-sleeping. It's just not for me. I don't want to go to bed at 8 o'clock with him. You know, as baby starts to move around, I don't feel comfortable with them on the bed. But around 5 to 6 months is when a lot of parents first start co-sleeping, because baby didn't want to be alone in the crib anymore. He needed to have better sleep and I needed to have better sleep. So this time with Ashton, we followed the ABCs of Sleep by Taking Cara Babies. I had the PDF document given to me from a friend, and I am so thankful because it is a really good program. It's basically the Ferber method, but with a lot more tips and information about baby sleep. But I do think that the program is really overpriced, and it's just out of reach for a lot of parents. And I wish that she would just like write a book or something and make it more accessible, like $20 or $30 in a bookstore, as opposed to like the over $100 it is for that program. It is really good, but like I said, it's basically the Ferber method. So her method, Ferber method, is that it's a cry it out method, and baby goes to sleep on their own. Just want to add that we do a very short and very consistent bedtime routine. And you do scheduled pop-in times. So if baby cries for 5 minutes, you go in at 5 minutes and reassure them. Only stay in for 15 to 20 seconds, reassure them that everything's okay, and then leave the room again. And then set a timer again and do a 10-minute pop-in. And if they cry for the 10 minutes, again do the pop-in. And then when you come out, set a timer for 15 minutes and then do 15 minutes. we never even got to those 15-minute increments. Ashton always was asleep either within the first 5 minutes or within like the 10-minute one. But she does include a lot of really good tips in her PDF document, and one of them I have to share. And obviously I don't want to give away like her whole program, but this is just something that needs to be known because I didn't do this with my first son. With my first son, we did the sleep sense method, and that's where you sit in the room in a chair and you move the chair further away. And we ended up actually moving to extinction because he was just getting angry, like, and not falling asleep with us in the room. And he didn't like pop-ins either. But I think it's because he was just very confused because we didn't do this part of the Taking Cara Babies part. We didn't do Taking Cara Babies, but we didn't do this specific thing. And it is scheduled night feeds. So basically when my first son was young, if he would cry in the middle of the night, I would respond to his cries. I would go in and feed him for shorter and shorter sessions, and he eventually dropped those feeds on his own. And then if he was like slightly awake, I would put him down and he would have to cry it out again. Whereas for Taking Cara Babies, it's if they cry in the middle of the night, you do not respond. You only go in for your scheduled feeds. So for Taking Cara Babies, it recommends one at 10:30 and one at 4 in the morning. So at 10:30, you would go in for a feed. You pick up your sleeping baby, make sure that they're sleeping, pick them up, do a dream feed, and put them back down. And you know, there's usually no crying because they're not gonna wake up. It's a dream feed. The only thing is that if they were to wake up at 10:20 or 10:25 right before a feed, you need to wait for them to like do a cry it out and make sure that they are asleep for 5 or 10 minutes before you go in for the dream feed. Make sure that they're sound asleep. And I just love this part of the program because it's not confusing the baby. Like I can just imagine a baby is like, sometimes I cry and mom comes, and sometimes I cry and mom doesn't come. Whereas for this method, they cry it out and you don't respond. So they learn more quickly. But because you're still going in for the 2 night feeds, you don't have to worry that they are hungry. You know that they're well fed. That part of Taking Cara Babies I love, and it just makes so much sense to me. Before I share exactly what like our experience was, like for night 1, night 2, night 3, I'll go into all that. I also just want to share the sleep sack that we've been using, and it is a weighted sleep sack. When Ashton was really struggling to sleep, of course I was like Googling everything, right? And in one of my searches, this came up, and it's a sleep sack called Dreamland Baby. They're actually on Shark Tank. It is a weighted sleep sack. So the whole front of the sleep sack is like a weighted blanket. So it's not like the nested bean one with just the chest weight. This is like a full weighted blanket on the front of the sleep sack. And it helps your baby feel more secure, and it helps them have longer stretches of sleep, not wake as often. So I was like fully ready to purchase this sleep sack when I decided to reach out to them and see if they would want to collaborate, and they did. So they sent it to me and I made a Instagram reel. I have no obligation to talk about it in this YouTube video right now, but I do want to share it with you guys in case you're searching for some type of solution for yourself. This weighted sleep sack, I think in combination with sleep training, is just amazing. The sleep sack is kind of pricey. I will reach out to the company and see if I can get a coupon code for this video, and if I do, I will have it linked below. It's just a really neat design. It's the weights on the front, and it's like 10% of the total body weight, so it's like hardly anything at all, but just helps them feel like really snug and secure and helps them get those longer stretches of sleep. I wanted to quickly talk about naps. When I sleep trained both my babies, I did not sleep train naps. Basically, you want to make sure that they are getting the proper amount of daytime sleep so that when it comes to nighttime, when you are sleep training, that they're not overtired. So during the day, I follow all wake times and make sure that he was taking his proper naps. He was still doing shorter naps at that time. He was taking about 3 naps a day. I would either rock, nurse, bounce him to sleep, whatever he needed, and make sure that he's not overtired for nighttime. I do find that naps do tend to fall in place on their own. So usually about like a week or two into sleep training, I will put him down awake in his crib, and he would often just fall asleep on his own. And if he didn't, I would usually only let him cry for maybe a minute or two. And if he wasn't falling asleep, then I would go help him. Eventually, he just has now started to just fully go to sleep on his own. Both my babies' naps fell into place on their own. Also, his naps have become like 2 hours as of recently, so I fully praise sleep training for that, to get those increased length naps. And he, you know, now that he's 7 months, it's easy to just do 2 naps in a day. I just want to kind of walk you guys through what night 1, night 2, the first like week was like with sleep training. We started on a weekend, and that was because I wanted my husband to be able to help and me not feel bad that he had to go to work the next day. And we also had our oldest son go to grandma's for a sleepover, which was maybe unnecessary. Taking Cara Babies says that like if you do have older kids, just warn them that they might hear baby sleep during the night, and if they do, to just turn over and go back to sleep. And Hayden has white noise in his room also. I don't think that he can hear it that much, but we had him go to grandma's just in case there was going to be like a lot of crying, which there wasn't even that much crying. So like I said, it was the weekend, and our first night did not go as planned because we had an electrician here in the house working all day, and I did not expect him to be here at 7 o'clock at night, but he was still here, and I did not want him to like hear a baby crying. So we decided to rock him to sleep for that sleep and do the sleep training methods throughout the night, which this is not something that I recommend. It's just kind of like what happened for us, just kind of like needed to happen that way. So we did the sleep training methods during the night, and I actually can't believe how smoothly it went, considering how often he was waking. It was like the first time he had to like cry, it was almost like he had learned something already, because it seriously went so smooth. I was expecting way worse because of how often he was waking. But for his first cry, he cried for 5 minutes. I went in and did the pop-in, and then he was asleep within, like, I didn't have to go in for the next pop-in, so it was less than 10 minutes crying for the next time. And his cries, they weren't really like, they weren't that hard, and they weren't that like long and full. Like, he would have a lot of like cry, quiet, cry, quiet. And when a baby does that, you don't want to be going in. They're probably close to asleep. So yeah, his crying wasn't that hard, and it went really smoothly. He woke up one more time throughout the night, and he had to cry it out, and that one was less than 5 minutes. So what I would do if it was like the middle of the night and I was sleeping, when I would wake up and hear him cry, I would set a 5-minute timer, and then when the timer went off, if he was still crying, that's when I would go in and do my pop-in. Then night 2, my husband was giving him a bottle, because we had been trying bottles before bed for like a month to see if it would like increase his sleep length. It didn't. It was just pumped milk, but yeah, it didn't increase his length at all. But we didn't want to remove the bottles now during sleep training, just in case, just because he was kind of expecting that milk, and I didn't want to worry that he was hungry. So my husband was doing that pumped milk bottle before bed, and Ashton was just really tired and he fell asleep, and my husband didn't know to wake him up before putting him down. So basically the first 2 nights of sleep training, he got put to sleep, and we just did the methods during the night. Like I said, I don't recommend this, but it did end up working for us. Night 2 was very similar to night 1. He didn't really wake all that often, and when he did, they were short episodes of crying, and I was just so relieved at how like good this was going. And then night 3 was the first night that he actually like had to fall asleep at the beginning of the night by himself. And we needed to do a pop-in at 5 minutes, and then we didn't need to do the 10-minute pop-in. So yeah, not long episodes of crying, and it just seemed to be working really, really well. It was going surprisingly good, and if he would wake during the night, it would only be short, and he would go back to sleep on his own. So during all this time, I am dropping night feeds like Taking Cara Babies suggests. So I'm night weaning him by dropping the amount of minutes that I breastfeed him for. So I was going in for 2 night feeds, one at 10:30 and one at 4 in the morning. and I am slowly dropping the amount of minutes to like 5 minutes, cap them both at 5 minutes. And then I would drop that later one first, and I was lowering the amount of minutes for that one. So you start at 5, bring it down to 3 minutes, bring it down to 2 minutes and 1 minute, and then you no longer go in for that feed anymore. And if they cry, you would just let them cry and see them in the morning or at the next feed. So that was like the first time that I had ever gotten like 8 hours of sleep, you know, probably like since Ashton was born, and that felt really good. But we were about to go on our little family vacation, and I started to get a clogged milk duct. And this is the first time I had ever had a clogged milk duct. I have 2 kids. Ashton is almost 6 months old, and I get a clogged milk duct, and I was terrified I was going to get mastitis before going on vacation. So I was reading everything on the internet to try and avoid it, and I swear I tried everything. The 2 things that I think worked is really hot water in the Haka mixed with some Epsom salt, and that's supposed to like help suction out the clogged duct. And the other thing was taking a supplement called lectin, which was recommended from my friend Brittany, according to Brittany here on YouTube and Instagram. She recommended taking the lectin supplement, and you start with like 3 or 4 in a day, and as the clog clears, then you wean those back. And so Nick went out and got me those, and one of those 2 things worked. I'm not sure exactly just which one, but I didn't get mastitis, and the clogged duct was like pretty much cleared within like 12 hours. So that was good, but I also kind of took this as a sign that Ashton wasn't ready to drop night feeds. And like, who knows, like maybe he would have been fine and maybe he would have, but I just kind of felt my mom gut tell me that he just wasn't ready to drop night feeds. He's always been a short, snacky feeder, so I was just a little bit worried that he still needed those night feeds. And up until a week or 2 ago is when I finally have dropped that 4 a.m. feed. So I was still doing a 10:30 and a 4 feed for like just a few minutes, and just recently lowered the amount of minutes for the 4 a.m. feed, and there actually like wasn't any crying when I've done that. So for the past like 4 nights I haven't gone in for those feeds, and it's been really good. And now I just need to slowly drop the other feed. Basically what I did was the 4 a.m. feed, I was lowering the amount of minutes, and I was also pushing up the 10:30 feed. So we would do it at like 11 and then 11:30 and midnight. So now I'm doing a midnight feed and dropped the 4 a.m. feed, if that makes sense. And now I'll slowly lessen the amount of minutes from that midnight feed, so we will be fully night weaned, I don't know, in like a week or 2. But yeah, that was our experience with sleep training Ashton with the Taking Cara Babies method. I hope this wasn't too all over the place and that you got some information from it. I can't recommend sleep training enough. I truly believe that it helps your baby enjoy sleep. I believe that it like increases their sleep drive. I feel that Ashton is just overall a happier baby now that he's getting like full rest throughout the night. But yeah, I can't recommend sleep training enough. It is a hard 2 weeks for a baby who enjoys sleep. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you found some good information from it. If you liked it, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.